You might be wondering whether an Amazon FBA business is still a viable business model. So I wanted to give the pros and cons, an honest reflection of how I've experienced selling on Amazon for the last 2 years. I don't know whether there's actually much out there on what it's really like. I've experienced quite a bit in those 2 years, some real challenging periods and some real high periods. You can't just throw up a product on there and it just sells. You have to really learn the platform. It's quite a sophisticated game now. One of the things that a lot of people say about Amazon, and is true, by the way, is that there's a lot of Chinese sellers on there, and they can actually usually lower their prices a lot more easier. But if you've got some verification that non-Chinese sellers are selling in that market and are selling well, and if there's multiple of them, you can find some really good markets to make a lot of money and build a brand in a market that can just keep growing and growing and growing. But again, it's important to not just jump in and think this is going to be an easy ride and an easy buck, because you have to really learn the skills over what makes a good market. How do I build a real brand and a real business? That doesn't come easily. You're going to have mistakes that cost you a lot of money. I paid a lot of money for a mentor. He's really good, but I still messed up. No matter how good of a business mentor you might have, you're still going to make mistakes. They can't do it for you. In 2 years, I've turned over, I think, $750,000 in revenue, which is a crazy amount of money to just be turning over in that short period of time, starting from scratch. And during that period, I have had months where I've genuinely lost money. They can be hard and really challenging. Sometimes it's out of your control. You can be doing everything right and you have a bad month for whatever reason, for a mistake you made, for a mistake Amazon made. This is just natural. This is just the cost of doing business, really. You can mitigate against all these risks again by having all the skills you need and being willing to learn and fail, get back up, go again. And ultimately, that's what I think makes a good business owner. You just kind of have to make mistakes to get better at anything. This is no different on the Amazon marketplace. Another thing to really be wary of is that you get no support from Amazon. They basically hate you. They do not care about you. Their whole ethos is around the customer. Whatever the customer says goes, basically. They don't give a shit about the sellers. That can be quite disheartening at times. That can be demoralizing. You're trying to contact them and they just give you a robot response and you can't get hold of anybody. That's tough to deal with. But again, some of these challenges actually just put people off. And if you can just keep getting through them and overcoming them, it does get a little bit easier. They pretty much don't care about an experienced seller, but a new seller, they couldn't care less. Now, the probably the biggest thing and the biggest misconception about an Amazon FBA business is that it's passive income. Like most people, I started Amazon whilst doing a 9 to 5, and I was just thinking like, I'm going to do this to get out of my 9 to 5, and I'm just going to be chilling on the beach whilst my business is making loads of money. And that's the wrong approach. To build a brand up on Amazon, you've got to learn a lot in a short period of time. You're going to have evenings where you're working on your business and you're still doing your 9 to 5. That is a lot to juggle, especially if you've got a family, kids, social life. Your social life's probably going to take a bit of a hit. Your bank balance is certainly going to take a bit of a hit because you're going to want to invest in your company. And you're not going to spend your evenings watching Netflix when you need to go and work on your business. So it's not this just 2 hours a week that some people say it is. It is a real business you've got to run. The more it starts to grow, the more time you actually have to put in. And eventually you can start maybe stepping away a little bit. You've already learned the things you need to learn and you can start to automate a little bit. But as you're doing that, the business is still getting bigger and bigger. So it's definitely not passive income. It is active income, but it is active income that has the potential to bring huge rewards. Passive income doesn't really exist in any business. You still have to do something. So it's just doing something and getting the maximum return possible. And I think this business model does actually give you that over time. That is a plus for me. And with that said, you won't be able to quit your job quickly. It won't replace a good corporate job. My corporate job was paying me pretty well, and even now, it still very rarely has months where it pays me more than what my corporate job did. I've done it because of the freedom it can give. It's given me the opportunity to move to Sweden, where I can't speak the language, and sell in the US. and I can move anywhere I like in the world. That is just an unbelievable thing that it gives you. The freedom to travel around and stuff like that is actually real. It is not passive income, but you do have a lot of freedom to do whatever you want and do things in your own time. Like I sometimes sit here in the evenings working on my business because I just sometimes like doing that. But then in the mornings, I'll go to the gym, I'll go outside whenever I want because I just can. Like, nobody's telling me to be anywhere. That is a very freeing thing. And if that's something you are drawn to, then it's a worthy pursuit, even if it is hard, this business. There's a few misconceptions as well around the money you can make. I only sell my own brands on there. I'm not interested in flipping other people's stuff on there and reselling because the margins are razor thin and always will be razor thin. If that's your thing, if that's your jam, then flip stuff. I like the idea of building a brand. Your margins can be much higher, but they still, at the start in particular, will not be that high. The fees, the costs, and depending on how much you're selling your product for, the chances are you're going to be somewhere between the range of like 5 to 25% margins at the start. This could be like that for your first year, your first couple of rounds of stock. So some successful products, the profit margins can only be like 10 to 20%. Like there's nothing wrong with that, but just know that that's what it is. So it does take a bit of time to build up your business so that it actually replaces your full-time job, but it's so scalable. The scalability of these businesses is just huge. And the crazy thing is that I started selling in the US and I can just replicate everything I've been doing over there and start selling in Canada and do the same again and start selling in the UK. And I'm literally launching in the UK this week. My stock arrives in the UK, and that's just going to add another 5 to 10k revenue to my business just from like sending products there. I've barely had to change a thing for the UK market. So that's my review after 2 years. It is definitely worthwhile doing if you want to do it. Just know it's not an easy ride. That's probably the biggest message, is it's not easy. It's challenging, it's hard, but it's worthwhile. If you want any help with anything, just drop a comment and I'll answer any questions. I'll catch you soon.